Hi, my name's Christine Wiggins. I'm coming to you from Horse Pro today with some tips for walking your jumper courses. I think one of the most important things before you even get started is knowing your stride length. So when you're walking your lines in the jumper ring, it's important to know that your steps you're taking are equivalent to your horse's stride. So one thing I found very helpful is at home, I will lie down a 12-foot pole and I'll practice walking, so I know that each of my steps is 3 feet. So you're walking 4 steps in between the 12-foot pole. And it's also important when you're doing your lines to allow 6 feet at the beginning and at the end of each line for your landing and takeoff. You should practice religiously with your pole at home before you try to do it in the ring, so you're confident that you're walking on a proper 12-foot stride length in the ring. Another thing to be very aware of is walking your jumper course. You want to check on the course map that the course designer posts your jump off. I usually take a picture of it so that when I'm out in the ring walking, if I can't remember the numbers, I can pull it up and look at it relatively easily. And also to look at your time allowed that's posted. Some course designers are generous with their times, others have a quite tight time allowed. So it's important to have an idea of what it is, and while you're walking the course, there's going to be a couple options for turns that the course designer will present to you, and it's good to study both options because if the time allowed is generous, you can probably go around and not be as risky, but if there's a tight time allowed, you might have to make some tighter inside turns to stay within the time allowed, and you want to make sure you gave yourself a chance to look at that and know that you're ready if that's the track you have to ride. Also, when you go in, make sure, looking at jump 1, you have a good plan to approach your first jump. Very often, there's a couple of options, and it's good to play off your horse's strengths. I know my mare is stronger off the left lead, so if there's an option to start off the left lead, I'll usually plan to do that. But again, you know your horse best, so play to their strengths and make sure you can start your course as positive as possible. Important, once you're finished walking your course, make sure you take a few moments by yourself to go over your course again in your head, go over any areas you think might be a trouble spot for you or your horse, whether they fall into the left or the right, or it's a tighter turn or a balancing line, and ride it a few times in your head to imagine what you might have to deal with when you're on course. I find for me, if I can close my eyes and visualize my entire course, then I know I am rock solid, I 100% have it, and I'm ready to go ride it. Anyway, those are just some tips and tricks I've picked up from doing the jumpers, and I hope that this video was a little helpful to you, whether you're just getting started in the jumper ring or just looking to improve your riding and your course walking. I hope this was a little bit of help to you. Also, it's pretty important for, if you're just getting into the jumpers and learning how to walk courses, usually, more often than not, you'll be walking with your trainer, so your questions can be directed towards them. But sometimes, for whatever reason, you may not have a trainer or you may need a little bit more information. Never hesitate to ask someone else who's walking for their advice if you have a question or a problem about an area. I think you'll find usually most people are very generous with information and are always happy to take a few extra seconds to help someone out. Twice. The first time I can be really definite about how the lines ride and get an idea of my track, and then I try to rewalk it to make sure I'm really solid of the track, and I try to find areas where I know I can save time. On course, every 2 strides your horse takes is 1 second. So it's good to be aware of where you can save time on course without being risky or fast, because obviously the goal of the first round is to jump clean within the time allowed. So a lot of people tend to waste time getting away from their jumps and go way wider than they need, so they're eating up valuable seconds on their time. You want to save time getting away from the jumps and be able to create a little bit of time in front of your jumps so you can jump them clean. So it's good to be aware that you take a good look at your tracks and find out where on course you can save that time without risking rails.